except for, as opposed to Alaska, nothing can really beat Alaska in any dimension since it's basically almost as big as the whole continental US anyways. But California, I think, definitely sticks out as just being like a very long, very, very roughly rectangular state. Obviously, like bends, but so we have the northern border with Oregon. Then there's this eastern border with Nevada, which is formed by mountains, which we'll get to later. And then we have the southeastern border with Arizona, which basically runs anywhere from where Las Vegas is down to Mexico. And then, of course, there's the southern border with Baja California in Mexico down here. I always wonder what it would have been like if the U.S. had gotten all of this, and California would have been even longer and more stretched out. But in case you aren't aware, Baja California is a state of Mexico down here. And it's where the city Tijuana is, right across the border from San Diego. So anyways, I guess I'll start with kind of talking about the main cities. So for me personally, I consider LA to have 3 main big cities, and everything else is just kind of like boring. And so those 3 are San Francisco, which encompasses the greater Bay Area, where Oakland and Berkeley are. There's also Sausalito and Marin County. And then of course there's Los Angeles, which is the biggest city in California and the second biggest in the entire US. And then there's San Diego, which isn't a super huge city, but it still has a skyline, and it's still coastal, of course, right on the water. And so yeah, now we'll get into kind of some physiographical stuff. I'm going to go back to the northern part of the state. So this whole first northern chunk is what's also sometimes called NorCal, as opposed to SoCal, which would be southern, which is like LA and San Diego. So in NorCal, you have the redwoods, and the redwoods are kind of like dispersed in some of these areas. Let's see if we can zoom in to find the actual word. Let's see. Because I remember I've been to the redwoods before, and I do remember it being in the vicinity of this Mendocino National Forest. But I just want to see if we can find where it will say. Oh, here we have the Humboldt Redwoods State Park. And so that's a section of redwoods. Oh, and then here we have the Redwood National and State Parks. And yeah, and there's a lot of these national forests, state forests up here. And so the redwoods are dispersed all over kind of Northern California, and you can find them almost as far south basically as San Francisco. But I do remember stopping somewhere around the Mendocino, and that's where I have seen the redwoods before. So if you go kind of inward, here I'll zoom out a little bit. This warmer kind of tone color is the valley, and that's the part of California that's very agricultural. It's a rich river plain that basically is formed from rivers draining, and you have like water that drains into the Pacific through San Francisco, and then there's like kind of a larger plain that Los Angeles sits on down here as well, where rivers are flowing outward from the coastal mountains. things that are supposed to serve Californian society, so to speak. So, if we kind of zoom in here on San Fran, you can see why it's called the Bay Area, because the downtown part of San Francisco is just located on this little kind of nub here, and the Golden Gate Bridge is here. It connects the downtown area of San Francisco to Marin County, which is this really beautiful part of California. And I've actually camped up here with friends before multiple times, and it's so beautiful. Just watching like the sunsets especially are just so stunning here. But yeah, and so the Bay really is a big deal because you have all of downtown San Francisco encompassed in just this little chunk, and then you have all of this other metropolitan areas, suburbs and other cities like Oakland and Berkeley across the water. So there's other bridges that are not the Golden Gate that connect this part, but they, even though they're not quite as impressive as the Golden Gate, they're still really cool bridges. There's just a lot of like large scale infrastructure in that area. I have once driven like all the way around the bay, like through the highways, and it's so long, especially with traffic. It takes like hours. It's a huge area. And so then you have some kind of other cities and towns that go further downward to like San Jose, and Silicon Valley is somewhere in this area. I'm not exactly sure, but I know that Silicon Valley is like right near San Fran, I believe somewhere south of it. Oh, actually I'm pretty sure San Jose is a part of that, because I know Cupertino I associate with like Apple. I know I've heard that associated with them before. So yeah, this is kind of like Silicon Valley area. And then moving southward, you have more of these like coastal mountains happening. And yeah, very rugged coast, lots of cliffs. And so we're gonna work our way down to Los Angeles now. I could zoom out a little bit, make this a little faster. So the coast cuts over eastward a lot here. That's where you have Santa Barbara, and then Malibu is like right here. Let's see if we can zoom in and get the word. Yeah, Malibu is right here. So that's where there's mountains just right on the water. And then this expansive area is the river plain that drains here into the Pacific. And I am not 100% sure exactly which river systems do that. But I know that that's why Los Angeles has been allowed to be the greatest example of sprawl in the US, because it's unencumbered by the flat, large, expansive areas that sit in between all of these mountain features. So it's a really cool place, definitely, physiographically. I'm just not really the biggest fan of LA in terms of culture. I think LA has one of the worst cultures in the US. The extremely entitled, I want to be a celebrity culture of like the modern age, and like everyone becoming YouTubers and getting rich and moving out there to live in like a mansion and do nothing the rest of their lives is just like not appealing to me. But yeah, and so, but I do love LA for like the hikes and the physical features, because I did hike by the Hollywood sign once, and I honestly don't exactly remember where that was. But I think it was in the vicinity of like here, because like, I mean, Hollywood is like right here. And so I think the sign is like either a part of these mountains or these mountains, because I know that Burbank is over here. Oh yeah, it says it right here. And this kind of like chunk of sprawl is like, I remember being either on one of these mountains or these mountains and being able to see LA, Hollywood on one side, Burbank on the other. It felt like being on this weird like ridge in between two cities. It was so cool. And so yeah, and then like, you know, like I said, there's Hollywood and then Beverly Hills over here. And then over here you have Santa Monica. And like honestly on the map, it doesn't look like any of this stuff is super far. But when you're actually driving there, and you're including the traffic and the just pure distance of everything and how sprawled it is, it literally takes forever to get from DTLA, which is over here, which is downtown. It takes forever to get to either Hollywood or Santa Monica or Venice Beach, or like even I think Anaheim is like down south somewhere, which is where UCLA is, and so yeah, it's enormous. Like when you're actually there, and it's kind of overwhelming because, like, unfortunately, you spend a lot of your time just traveling when you're in LA and like not actually doing things, which also contributes to me not really liking it very much as a city. But anyways, so yeah, you have like Santa Monica over here. There's the pier, and then there's all these little bike paths and stuff that lead to Venice Beach that are very iconic. I have ridden down those before. It's very cool. I did enjoy that experience, and my friend and I, when we were there, we decided that like upon returning to LA, we would definitely just spend our time at the beach, because they do have huge sprawling beaches there too. If you've ever been to the beach at Santa Monica, like there's just such a huge slab of this flat sand before you hit the water, and so it's actually one of the least crowded areas you can find. You can easily have like a peaceful picnic there and not be like super crowded by people, because I've been there in the summer and done that. My friends and I have just like chilled on the beach and like smoked. Very cool experience there. DTLA isn't really anything super duper exciting, since it's kind of like the only thing people don't care about when it comes to LA. Most people want to tour Hollywood and see the stars, and most people want to like go to the beach. Oh, another thing that's iconic, which I have to mention, is Marina Del Rey. I mean, like, we already knew Marina and Lana were friends, but that is just crazy. I remember seeing that when I was there and thinking, like, am I imagining this? Like, is my brain making this up just because it wants it to exist? But no, there's literally a place called Marina Del Rey, and it's a little boat marina that's at the very end of Venice Beach. So anyways, that's enough with Los Angeles. I'm going to move on to San Diego now. So, leaving the good old Valley Plain, there's kind of some more rugged, soft mountains, I guess, around San Diego. And San Diego is located just right on the very end of the U.S. part of the land. So the border is right here. And Tijuana is right on the other side. And it's not like the downtown part of San Diego that's right on the border. It's like kind of the outskirts of the city, but it's very much like those are sister cities. And I do remember driving around the San Diego Bay, which was super cool because that's the best way to see the skyline of downtown on this side. And my friend and I also found like a park somewhere around here where we like sat over the water, like had our legs dangling, and got to just watch the skyline. It was so fun. We even like wrote music there. But yeah, I mean, nothing with downtown San Diego is super duper exciting, I would say. It's really just like mostly obviously people who work there who go and spend time in that downtown area. What's more exciting about San Diego is this little cute place called Ocean Beach. And Ocean Beach has like this big beach where I've gone multiple times, and it has a super chill feel to it. You're just surrounded by a bunch of surfer people who are chilling all the time. They seem like they have no stress in their lives ever. Or maybe that's how they remove the stress in their lives, I guess. And then all the way down here much less beachy and a lot more cliffy, which is why they have the sunset cliffs. Oh, I'm so sorry. I don't even know what that was, but that was like a loud noise. So yeah, you have the sunset cliffs, and I've been there a couple times too, and it is an amazing place to take pictures, especially of sunsets. I've watched a couple sunsets there, and I've not regretted a single moment. They also have kind of like a Beverly Hills feel with the houses there. They're very like mansion-y and like super cool like architecture and stuff. But like minus the like kind of cultural insensitivity of Beverly Hills with all the like rich people. Here it seems like the rich people are at least a little bit cooler, but obviously rich people can only be so cool because they're not cool at all, and they're evil, but whatever, that's a discussion for a whole separate video. So, that's really basically into kind of what I know about San Diego. Oh, another thing, the San Diego airport is right next to all the beaches and stuff, and so when you're on the beach, there's airplanes constantly flying over you, like super low, and that might sound kind of annoying if you don't like the sound pollution of that, but for me, like, and my friends, we found that to be so fun and so cool. So yeah, anyways, so that's like the coastal cities that I wanted to mention. Now we can go a little bit more inland. So we have the Mojave, which is the major desert in southeastern California, and it's this large area just south of Nevada and Las Vegas, and it's super dry and hot, of course, and lots of cacti there. My friend and I drove through this on like a state route that kind of cut directly through it, and it was super cool. We kept stopping and pulling off places because there was just so much fun, cool stuff to see. And yeah, so then moving upward, the major border that is created with Nevada is formed by the Sierra Nevada, which is this kind of like white peaks kind of stuff that you can see here. And the fact that Nevada is so dry is because all of the rivers flow only inward from the Sierra Nevada and the Western Rockies in Utah, which is what traps water in the basin of Nevada. And so that's why Nevada has no like access to like the ocean or anything, and they only can survive off of the lakes they have, some of which are man-made. But we're not talking about Nevada in this video, so I'm not going to go too into that. But yeah, so between having the Sierra Nevada here, which are kind of the more significant mountains in California, then you also have those coastal mountains we were kind of looking at and talking about, and then that's why you have the valley in between, which we talked about has Sacramento, but also includes Fresno as well, which you may have heard of. And so the one kind of last thing, here it is. Yosemite is the big major national park in California. I mean, they also do have Death Valley, which is like right on the border of Nevada and California. But Yosemite is right in the Sierra Nevadas, which is why it like has intense mountains and like peaks. And Yosemite is very beautiful. I have actually not been there before, so that's definitely one of the things on my list to do when returning to California. I actually really haven't much explored at all any of Eastern California, so there's a lot left for me to be able to explore there, which is exciting. I've only ever really explored like the cities and like the West Coast, and like I said, the Mojave place, but it's also definitely not my number one. I think it's too cliche as a number one for people. And like that in itself contributes to me not wanting it to be a number one for me. But also, like I said, some of the other things, like there's a lot of rich people in California. That's extremely unappealing to me. And there's a lot of entitlement in California. A lot of just like people who really don't understand their privilege and that kind of thing. So culturally, California is not my favorite place, but it's definitely way better than a lot of other places in the US. I'll say that. I have to give it that at least. And historically, California has been a place of like forward thinking and progressivism, and I can't ignore that either. But I don't think that California is as progressive as people think it is, especially like Los Angeles. I think Los Angeles is much more of like a wealth-obsessed city than anything else. And that includes being progressive, because being progressive has, you know, like a lot more to do with income inequality than some of the other issues that rich people also care about. Because rich people don't really tend to care about income inequality, because if they did, they like wouldn't be rich. So yeah, anyways, I think that's all I'm going to be to say for this. So you'll have to just check out my next video with what I'm going to do with these. I think I'm going to do either Washington or Oregon next, or maybe just even a focus on these 4 states to focus on the Colorado Plateau. I haven't decided yet, but I'm gonna keep doing these until I can cover really everything that I know how to talk about, and then I'll probably start